My name is Gurman S Bal. Today's date is October 25th, 2014. I was 16. Stockton, California. Yeah, I remember them. We knew about them based on the news media as well as calls my dad was getting from India and various community members asking if they could use our phones. A lot of people at that time got out of India before the attack but had no money, so they'd ask, hey, can we please call to check on our loved ones? So based on the media and then community involvement, we knew about the attacks. I do. I took the lead from my parents. They were appalled about the attacks, felt it was totally unjustified. I didn't have a lot of independent knowledge of Sikhism at that stage of my life. There was no Khalsa school in Stockton. Stockton at that time was a pretty brutal environment to grow up in, so it just, I took the lead from my dad, and I began reading a lot about Sikhism after that. And the '84 attack, a lot of people don't realize, but that was just 5 years after the Iran hostage crisis. So as Sikhs in America, we're going from one crisis to another. And of course, the Iran hostage crisis, we were targets here in America. Then in '84, we were not targets in America, but our community out in India was. So it was just one crisis to another. There were good amounts of protests out in front of the Arguello Street consulate, Indian consulate. And then there were various news media interviews, but we didn't have a good organized way to respond. I think, like many people, you feel if you're in the moral right, that'll eventually come out. It won't. You have to explain why you're right, and you have to hire smart PR people, which at that time our community just wasn't able to do. It's understandable. We're here struggling to make an existence. Yeah, I think it was again on CNN that announced Indira Gandhi's death, and I still remember how, even in that moment, the government of India still kept lying. We have some old VCR tapes of the assassination. Probably you can look it on YouTube. I remember the CNN anchor said Indira Gandhi's condition has been changed from very, 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 very serious to very, 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 very serious. So well, that's a relief, But there's obviously political reasons why they wanted to wait to announce her death, which we now know why they waited. There were some mistakes made by Sikhs here too, though, just as an aside. We heard that in New York, a lot of Sikhs were passing out mithais to, it's an Indian sweet dish, to passers-by, regular, white, black, Hispanic people, because they said, well, that's what the Indian government did when Bhindranwale and so many Sikhs died. But that does not, nobody knows that. You're seen here with a turban and a beard passing out sweets when somebody's died. Even President Obama didn't celebrate when Osama bin Laden was finally killed. So Sikhs have to learn how to interact in this real world, because that wouldn't have helped. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to celebrate it, but I wasn't saddened by it either. Because nobody's going to ever pull down a big leader unless you defeat them in a war, which there was nobody who's going to go to war for the Sikh community. And later on, as I read more about Sikh history, it became clear that nobody who attacks the Golden Temple is going to die a natural death. Either they're going to be killed by Sikhs, or I think there's a Mughal ruler who was killed because his nose was hit by a fragment of the Golden Temple when he was firing on it, and he died. But my reaction was, you kind of got what you deserved based on how many people were killed during the '84 attacks. Not yet. My daughter's only 8, and I think we will start maybe this November, but have to be very careful with it. It was very hard for me to process when you see all these grim images, even before the '84 massacres of Sikhs, tortured to death. The government of India was always doing that on purpose to show, hey, this is what we can get away with. And it was hard to deal with even as a high schooler, because you kind of see yourself in that photo. It's a Sikh with a turban who's been tortured to death or shot and killed. It does bring a lot of distress. It's hard to compartmentalize that. Yeah, for the generation that's in high school now, just entering college, or even if you're older and still don't know about the events, you should learn, because that's been kind of the case in our history as a community. We've gone through intense persecutions. Earlier I talked about 1979, the Iran hostage crisis, then 1984, Blue Star attack. Well, heck, partition was 1947. Sant Grindelwald was born that year. 37 years later, he dies fighting for the Golden Temple. So unfortunately, we have to say that probably in the next 10, 15 years, we don't know when, but something else is going to probably hit our community. But now we've got to be smarter, especially if you're a young person who's got good college skills, some financial backing. Start applying those skills to the community. Volunteer with Sikh Coalition. Get involved with some of these historical memorial projects. Just a couple of books if you're interested in reading. The University of Missouri has the best South Asian bookstore in America, so give them a look. Go online. India Commits Suicide, very provocative book, but it's pretty well written. Sikhs in History by Sangat Singh, also very well written. And this is English. I don't read Punjabi myself, but start reading more and form your own opinions. That's the main thing.